What's going on, y'all? I'm Nathan Rich with Southern Salt Kayak Fishing, and today we're going over the top 3 spots to locate redfish during a low tide. But before we get into that, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button to see all of our future content. Next week, we're talking about speckled trout fishing during a high tide for catching trophy trout like these. Alright, y'all, I got Google Earth pulled up right here, and last week was all about fishing for redfish during a high tide, and we talked about how the marsh system is the absolute best place to go target slot reds and sometimes bull reds, and the same holds true for a low tide. Okay, the problem is that a low tide is going to be a little bit tougher than a high tide because it's harder to figure out where these redfish are congregating at. And we're going to go over 3 spots that I think if you try these areas, you will come out pretty good on catching redfish. All right, so the first area is going to be a stretch of land mass that connects 2 creek mouths. I know that might be a mouthful, but to show y'all what I'm talking about, we got a creek mouth here and we got a creek mouth here. So what I want to do is come out here and target this flat right off of that grass line connected. This is going to be a little bit, just depending on the area, it should be a little bit deeper water right out here than what you would have at your creek mouth, because your creek mouth, that current dumps all that mud and sand out at the mouth, and it's actually most of the time going to be pretty shallow up in here. So a lot of the times those redfish are going to get out here just outside of the creek mouth and run back and forth, and I think if you try these areas out, you're going to find that these areas do hold a lot of redfish, especially in a low tide. High tide as well, but more so in a low tide. All right, moving along to spot number 2 to try. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look on Google Earth at deeper creeks, right? So what I want to see is, like right here, I can tell from the coloration right here that this creek is significantly deeper than, let's say, the creek mouth where you see this lighter colored area, right? It's a little bit darker, indicating that this is a little bit deeper. Okay, so look to target deeper creeks because these redfish are being flushed out of all these feeder creeks where there's no longer any water, and they're going to hang out right here in these deeper channels. So all you got to do is pull up Google Earth, and you'll see like this right here would be a bad creek because it's too shallow. So if I'm pre-planning my trip, I'm not going to look at going in here. It just looks too shallow. Now on the flip side of that, this hard point right here has a darker area, which indicates to me that more than likely that's a good little hole, and that would actually be an excellent choke point and a great place to try to throw some artificial lures like a wake bait, some voodoo shrimp or something like that in there, paddle tail. See if we can't find a couple more good spots. So we talked about this creek right here. We got a little spot right here. Going on up in here, it's a little shallow coming through, but if I look to the left side of this mouth, I got a little bit deeper channel right here, deeper areas. Bam, couple of creeks. Now if I look right here, obviously this is not going to be a good spot, it's too shallow, but the main creek that feeds these little feeders looks a little bit deeper, and those are going to be areas to target. This area right here, this would be an excellent spot. If you look at how dark that is, that's going to be a little bit deeper water. Something like this obviously is a no-go. It's too shallow. All right, so we got deeper creek channels, and then the third spot that you want to look for is in the creek channels, but to narrow down where you're targeting. This is probably one of the most effective places to target redfish in a low tide, is going to be in hard, deep bends, right? So if I pull up right here, let's go ahead and zoom down in on this right here. Okay, come on, work with me. Right, so if I narrow down right here, I can guarantee you that if I come up, stage up on the shallower side of this bend right here, and I throw off in this hard bend right there, I'm going to find some redfish. This is going to be the deepest area of your creeks. And the reason that this is the deepest area of the creeks is because that tide and current that's moving through there, that water is moving every day, right? It's coming out right here. It's hitting this bank and forcing it against this wall, flushing the most of the mud off of this corner, causing this to be the deepest part of the creeks. And that's going to pretty much play true anywhere except for, like, this would be an exception because you got a creek right here that's dumping mud out, and then you have a hard bank, right? So I mean, there could be a hole there, but I would think that this creek's probably flushing mud down in there. But that's what you want to look for. This will be a great one right here, another hard channel. So that current that gets flushed in, either incoming tide or outgoing tide, is constantly getting forced up against this wall, causing to cut that out, which is going to be the deepest spots, and that's going to hold your redfish. So that is pretty much this week's episode on low tide spots for redfish. Y'all go out, try these spots. Come back to the video and comment. Let me know if they work for you. They have been proven to work for me to catch a numerous amount of redfish. I will go ahead and tell you that fishing during a low tide is going to be tougher. The bite's just not as aggressive. And but if you target down on these areas, I think you will find some success. But that's this week's episode. If y'all liked the video, hit that like button, comment with any questions you may have, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to come on next Tuesday. Check out the channel because we're talking about speckled trout fishing and trophy speckled trout fishing during a high tide. Till then, tight lines.